Hey Stoic warrior, we exist in a world where people are endlessly trying to prove something, to prove they're right, to prove they're enough, to prove their worth. They explain, over-explain, and at times even plead just to be acknowledged. But a Stoic doesn't operate that way. A Stoic doesn't plead for attention. He doesn't go after validation. He doesn't feel the need to explain himself to the world because he understands that silence is strength. Now, what most people tend to do when they're hurt, rejected, or misunderstood is they rush, they chase. They attempt to repair what's been broken by offering explanations to those who've already decided not to understand them. That right there, that is weakness disguised as courage. You call someone and they don't answer, so you text again, maybe even message them once more. You pour your heart into a long paragraph, hoping they'll recognize your worth. But here's the truth. The more you explain, the more you beg, the more of your power you give away. And that's not Stoic. The great Stoics like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus mastered silence, not because they were indifferent, but because they recognized this. The more we value what lies outside our control, the less control we actually have. That's Epictetus. When you chase someone's attention or beg for their understanding, you're handing them the keys to your inner peace. You're essentially saying, my peace depends on how you respond. But that's not peace. That's a prison. Real strength is shown when someone disrespects you and you walk away without a word. Not out of pride, but because your dignity doesn't need to shout, doesn't need to chase, and doesn't need to explain. It detaches, silently. This silence isn't emptiness, it's discipline. It's self-respect. It's inner strength declaring, I don't need to be heard by you in order to hear myself. And that kind of silence, it terrifies people. Because when you don't react, they lose the grip they thought they had on. So today, we're diving into the kind of silence that builds real power, not weakness. The kind of silence that makes others wonder what changed. The kind of silence where your absence speaks louder than any message ever could. We're going to uncover 6 deep truths, 6 reasons why silence is a Stoic superpower, and why those who practice it never chase, never beg, and never feel the need to explain themselves. If you're tired of overgiving, if you've ever felt misunderstood, or if you've found yourself chasing someone who walked away, this is your invitation to shift. Let this script be the reminder you didn't know you needed. Before we jump into point 1, I want to ask you for a small favor. Like this video if it's already speaking to you. Drop your affirmations and thoughts in the comments as we go. Share this with someone who could use this message today. And make sure to subscribe for more Stoic growth content. Most importantly, don't skip a single part of this video. One idea, one truth, might just reshape how you carry yourself for good. Let's begin. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence is my power. Number 1. Silence makes them feel your absence more than they ever heard your words. Have you ever noticed something interesting? When you stop explaining yourself, when you stop chasing, suddenly people begin to think. That's the paradox of silence. It doesn't push people away, it pulls them in. Think back to the last time you felt hurt. Maybe someone ghosted you, disrespected you, or gave you the cold shoulder. Your instinct likely screamed, say something, fight back, defend your worth. But here's the truth. The more you talk, the less they actually listen. The more you chase, the further they pull away. The more you try to explain, the less they value what you're saying. But when you go silent, suddenly your absence becomes louder than your presence ever was. He who does not understand your silence will probably not understand your words. That's Elbert Hubbard. The Stoics understood this for centuries. Silence makes people uncomfortable in ways noise never could. When you stay silent with someone who expected you to beg, when you choose withdrawal over reaction, you force them to face something deeper, their own behavior. Silence becomes a mirror. It says, I saw what you did, I felt how you treated me, but I respect myself too much to explain it to you. That kind of silence doesn't come from ego. It stems from clarity. You begin to see, if they truly cared, they'd ask. If they respected you, they'd reach out. If they had emotional maturity, they wouldn't need a long explanation to recognize your worth. So you remain quiet. And in that quiet, you reclaim every bit of the power you once handed over. You stop wasting energy trying to be understood by people who can't even understand themselves. You stop looking for healing through conversations because some wounds don't heal through words. They heal in silence. Yes, it's uncomfortable because your silence will trigger them. It'll confuse them. It'll make them ask, why isn't he reacting? Why didn't she respond? Did they stop caring? That's when the shift happens. Because silence delivers one message they can't ignore. You no longer owe them an explanation. Number 2, when you stay silent, the truth becomes louder. The world is noisy, but silence helps you listen, not to others, but to yourself. In times of heartbreak, betrayal, or confusion, most people rush to others. They seek advice, validation, or emotional band-aids. They'll call 5 friends, scroll endlessly on social media, or confront the person who hurt them, hoping that just the right conversation might fix the wrong person. But the Stoic chooses a different path. He goes silent. Not because he doesn't feel, but because he knows real answers are born in reflection, not noise. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this, you have the power to revoke at any moment. That's Marcus Aurelius. When you become still, truly still, the mind quiets. And when the mind quiets, the truth surfaces. You begin hearing things like, they never really respected me. I just didn't want to believe it. I'm not angry because they left. I'm angry because I stayed too long. I don't need closure. I need peace. These truths don't come in texts. They come in the quiet, unglamorous hours when you stop speaking and start listening. Silence gives you the space to untangle emotions from your values. Because when you're hurt, emotions scream, chase them, explain, prove. But in silence, values whisper. Hold your dignity, guard your peace, let them go. This is why Stoics didn't react impulsively. They embraced sacred stillness, a pause before any storm. Society teaches the opposite. Speak your mind. Don't let anyone disrespect you. But what most people miss is that respect isn't earned by raising your voice. It's earned by staying grounded while everyone else spirals. In your silence, people reveal themselves. You won't have to ask, do they care? Their actions will answer that. You won't need to chase clarity. It emerges from your stillness. And most importantly, you stop reacting to life. Instead, you start responding with intention. Silence isn't passivity. It's focused awareness. It's the doorway to inner wisdom most people never walk through. So when you're unsure, overwhelmed, or clouded, don't act. Be still. The answer isn't outside, it's within. And you'll hear it through silence. Number 3, begging for closure is a form of self-betrayal. Let's confront something most people don't want to admit. Begging for closure often leads to more pain, not peace. We all crave it, that one last conversation, that final explanation, something that makes the ending feel clean and complete. But here's the hard truth. If someone truly cared, you wouldn't need to beg for closure. They'd offer it naturally, with respect. And if they don't, then your silence is your closure. Don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Epictetus said that, and while it may not seem directly related, it absolutely is. When you stop chasing closure and start embodying your values, something powerful shifts. You stop needing someone else to validate your pain. The pain itself is real, but when you start needing their explanation for why they hurt you, that's when you hand over the power to your healing. Here's the cycle. They hurt you. You ask for answers. They give you avoidance or coldness or nothing at all, and you feel worse. Then it starts again, until you realize that closure isn't something they give, it's something you claim. When you finally fall silent and walk away, you reclaim it. It's tempting to think, if I just tell them how I feel, if I just explain what they did, if I just get one more talk. But what usually happens? You pour your heart out to someone who's already come to terms with hurting you. You explain yourself to someone who made their decision long before the conversation. You waste energy hoping they'll fix what they broke, but they won't. And that's not closure. That's self-abandonment. The Stoics understood. Emotions cloud our judgment, especially when the ego gets involved. You want to be seen as the better one. You want them to understand. You want them to regret, but chasing that need only sabotages your growth. Real closure looks like this. You realize what they gave you was all they were capable of. You accept that no explanation will ever change their character. You stop waiting for a conversation that will never come, and in that acceptance, you take your power back. The people who hurt you don't need to grasp your worth, you do. The ones who walked away don't need to say goodbye, you can say it without words. The ones who ghosted don't deserve a second chance. Your silence gives them the answer. So stop writing the unsent messages. Stop rehearsing the perfect response. Stop chasing closure from people who were never open to begin with. Go silent and let that silence become the space where your self-respect breathes again. Number 4. Silence exposes what words try to hide. There's something revealing about silence. When you go quiet, something incredible happens. Masks begin to fall. Words can be beautiful, but they can also deceive. People will say what sounds good. They'll say what you want to hear. They'll justify, explain, even apologize. But silence? Silence never lies. What you do speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say. Ralph Waldo Emerson. The Stoics knew this too. They didn't judge people based on their apologies. They judged them by their patterns. And the most effective way to see someone's patterns is to stop talking. Just observe. Because silence isn't passive, it's perceptive. When you stop explaining yourself, you create space for people to reveal who they truly are. And trust me, they will. The ones who genuinely respected you, they'll miss your presence and approach you with honesty. The ones who only used you, they'll vanish because they never valued you in the first place. The ones who manipulated you, they'll grow frustrated. Not because you did something wrong, but because they lost their grip on you. Here's what most people don't realize. Words build illusions, but silence reveals reality. You don't need to confront them. You don't need to test them. All you need to do is withdraw your words and watch. Watch who checks on you when you're quiet. See who disappears when you stop giving. Notice who grows frustrated when you no longer react. That's the real truth. It's harsh, but necessary. Because people can argue with your words. They can dismiss your opinions, but they can't ignore your absence. They can't twist your silence. And when you stop responding, when you stop playing their emotional games, you stop feeding their illusion. You stop pretending that their words matter more than their behavior. This silence, it brings you clarity. You stop needing their explanations because their patterns already gave them. Their distance, their silence, their inconsistency, it all spoke volumes. And in that clarity, you begin to trust behavior over words. You begin to value energy over promises. You begin to care more about what's real than what's said. That's Stoicism. It isn't about being cold. It's about being clear. It isn't distance, it's discernment. It's not being emotionless, it's being emotionally disciplined. So next time someone tries to sweet talk their way back into your life, don't rush to answer. Watch. Go quiet. Let their actions, or lack of them, do the talking. Number 5. Not explaining yourself is the highest form of confidence. Let's be honest, being misunderstood hurts. You want to defend yourself. You want to explain that you're not what they think. You want to say, that's not me. But the Stoic doesn't chase understanding from others. He seeks it within himself. Why? Because trying to explain yourself to someone who's already made up their mind isn't confidence. It's fear of being misjudged. Don't waste what remains of your life speculating about your neighbors, unless with a view to some mutual benefit. Marcus Aurelius. Think about that. Every time you attempt to prove your goodness, your loyalty, your worth, you're spending your limited energy on someone else's opinion. That's not strength, that's insecurity. The one who doesn't explain himself isn't arrogant, he's at peace. He knows his intentions are clean, his actions speak for him. His value doesn't need translation for those unwilling to understand. This level of detachment is difficult. People will call you cold. They'll label you selfish. You might even lose people you once held close. But here's the truth. Losing those who never really saw you isn't a loss. It's alignment. Most people don't want to understand you. They want to control how you're perceived. And when your silence disrupts that illusion, they get angry. Not because you hurt them, but because you stopped letting them shape your image. When you stop explaining, you stop seeking permission. You move with energy instead of apology. You stop justifying why you walked away. You stop defending your peace. You simply act. And the ones who truly belong in your life, they'll understand your silence without needing subtitles. This kind of energy is rare. It unsettles people. Manipulators lose interest, users fall away. But those who stay, they respect you deeply. Because they recognize you won't diminish yourself to fit into their misunderstanding. That's Stoic silence. It's not loud, it's not desperate, it's not dramatic, it's calm, it's rooted, it's unshakable. You don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing peace. You don't need to justify your boundaries. You don't need to shout your worth in rooms where your silence already said it all. Number 6. Your silent detachment is what teaches them the lesson. There's something undeniably powerful about the person who walks away, not with anger, not with chaos, but with calm detachment. No slammed doors, no final messages, just quiet departure. And in that silence, a lesson is taught, louder than any words ever could. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca. This reminds us, the real suffering starts when they begin replaying your silence. When you stop responding, they're left with their own thoughts, their own guilt, their own memory of how you treated them, and the vacuum of your absence. Your detachment says, I no longer need to prove anything. I refuse to remain where I'm not respected. I've learned peace is more valuable than attachment. Most people don't know how to handle that energy. They're used to reactions, to arguments, to emotional breakdowns and last-ditch efforts. But when you go quiet, you stop participating in the game. You exit with grace, and that silence forces them to confront themselves. They expected you to chase, to fight, to come back, but you don't. And that scares them more than any confrontation could, because they finally realize you're really gone. They no longer have access to your energy, and that's when the real lesson begins. People don't learn from being told. They learn from the loss. They don't change when you beg for respect. They change if they change when your absence shows them what they took for granted. And if they don't, that's okay. The lesson wasn't for them, it was for you. You learned that your peace doesn't require anyone's permission. You learned that not everyone deserves an explanation. You learned that sometimes silence isn't just power, it's healing. When you detach in silence, you free yourself from toxic patterns. You stop bleeding in front of people incapable of compassion. You stop trying to explain storms to those who live in droughts. You rise, and in that rise, your energy shifts. You become untouchable. Not because you stopped caring, but because you started caring about yourself more. This is the power of Stoic silence. It's not emptiness, it's elevation. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. When you stop explaining, stop chasing, and stop begging, you create space for peace, truth, and clarity. So let your silence teach the lesson. Let your absence speak the truth. Let your stillness reclaim your power. If this video moved you, do 3 things. 1. Like this video, it helps this message reach more people. 2. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. 3. Comment below, I no longer chase, I attract through silence. And make sure to subscribe if you want more Stoic wisdom like this. Remember, you are not what happens to you, you are how you respond. Stay grounded, stay silent, stay powerful.